Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Hoops and Helmets. We have a full slate for you today, starting off with our predictions from last week, where Aaron kind of went off.
Oh yeah,
3-1. The only game you missed, I believe, was the Colorado game, but you got Texas, Ohio State correct. You got LSU, Clemson correct. Both of those were upsets. And who was the other prediction that we did, Aaron?
App State.
App
The
State, of course. And both of us got that one correct. That was the only game that I got correct for the week, but that's okay because we got another week coming up. But Aaron, first I want to start with this Texas OSU game. Not exactly what I was expecting. Both of these are very good defenses. Um, but the story of it was kind of their quarterbacks, both of who I thought underperformed. Obviously, OSU and Julian Sang come out on top. Aaron, do you think Texas should have been ranked number one going into the season?
I mean, I don't. I feel like you should have just given it to Ohio State. Really, yes, both teams had a first year starter, but Ohio State's the defending national champs. They still have a lot of talent that was on that national championship team. Yes, they lost an insane amount as well, which we covered in last week's episode.
Mm-hmm.
But part of Texas's number one ranking is because it's Arch Manning at quarterback. And as much as we don't want to admit it, that Manning name does carry a lot of weight in the
Yeah.
football world. So that's part of the reason they were ranked number one. I think top four, top five would have been perfectly valid. Number one did feel like a bit of a stretch for me, though.
I agree. I'm beginning to think Arch Manning might be the most overrated quarterback in football right now. Obviously, we're gonna touch
Ooh.
on UCLA later and Nico Iamaleava. He had a not great game, but I was thoroughly unimpressed by Arch Manning, and I just think that along with really the rest of the country, except for you, it seems like Aaron, was just too high on Arch Manning. Um, I still do believe in Texas. I think they're going to be good. The defense was very good, but that offense, I just am not super confident in at this point. I'm going to need to see more of them. I actually disagree with you though, Aaron. Ohio State is great. They probably should have been number two, in my opinion. I think Penn State should have been ranked number one. Right now, they are ranked number two. I really like Penn State after looking a little more into them. James Franklin, I believe in as a head coach. I also really believe in their quarterback, Drew Alar. And that checks two immediate boxes, probably two of the most important boxes for a football team. They also have an amazing running back room. Katron Allen is a monster. And they also have a great group of wide receivers coming from the transfer portals. And probably the biggest thing about this team, they have a ton of players who could have gone through the draft and opted to stay back because they believed that they could win a national championship. I don't know if they're going to. Part of this, I think, just comes down to program. When you have Texas and Michigan and Ohio State and all of these major football programs, not that Penn State is anything to scoff at, and they did make the playoffs last year. I do think they're very, very good. And I do see a case for them being the best team in the country. They also have a defensive genius at defensive coordinator. Jim Knowles is one of the best in the game, and that defense is just always super consistent. So I really, really like Penn State, and I could see a case um, for them being number one. I know it's kind of a cheeky pick. Ohio State
Yeah.
probably is the right answer, but I really, really like Penn State and the way they're looking this year.
And look, Carson, on paper, Penn State does look really good. Katron Allen and Nick Singleton, best running back room in the country.
Hmm.
Drew Aller, he's pretty good. Jim Knowles, phenomenal defensive coordinator, like you mentioned. Carson, for me, the problem is James Franklin can't win the big game. They're a good regular season team, like we saw. They played Ohio State pretty close. They only lost by 7 points, but again, they fell short. Lost to
Hmm.
Oregon by 8 points, fell just short. Against Notre Dame in the Orange Bowl, they lost by 3. So they're right there. They're contending with these other top tier programs in the country, but they're always falling just short. And I'm starting to think part of that might be the head coach, and that's not to say that James Franklin is a bad head coach. I think he is a good head coach, but maybe just not quite enough to win the big games because I feel like we should have seen them win one of those three that I just mentioned with the amount of talent that they retained that was already there. Yes, wide receiver core was an issue last season. They addressed that, but they should have been able to pull off one of those against one of those elite programs.
I think it's a fair point. I will say football is just kind of a smaller sample size than you would get with like a basketball, especially when you get into like major leagues. There's only so many games, um, and you can't win them all. I do agree they probably should have pulled off one of those. And like I said, I think it's a good point. What I'll say is when a team is good enough and they're consistent enough and they stick around long enough, it's only a matter of time. And I do think that this year could be Penn State's time. But Aaron, moving back to Texas, do you think they need to be worried at all about just about this season and uh, how their season looks moving forward?
I yes they lost, but the defense still looked good. Ohio State's a very very dangerous team, so only holding them to 14 points is a positive. Offense, give it time. This is Arch's first game in his first season as a full time starter. Let's pump the brakes and not expect him to just be an absolute ace right out of the gate. Calm down, give it a few weeks. I still think they'll be good. I think after like week 5 or 6, if they're still looking a little rough, then you can press the panic button. But I think a lot of people just need to calm down and realize that this is still just a kid who has a tremendous amount of pressure on him in his first season as a starter. So just temper expectations a little bit. I do believe he'll get there. I still believe that Arch Manning will be a good quarterback, but people just need to slow down what they're going to expect to see out of him.
I agree with you partially. I do think he will be okay. I said he is one of the more overrated quarterbacks in the country right now. I say that because I've seen um, some people calling him like generational. I don't think he's that. I don't think he's Bryce Young. I don't think he's Anthony Richardson or C.J. Stroud or any of those guys. Um, I think
Well,
he's
Carson, I'd hope he wouldn't be Anthony Richardson because we're seeing how that's playing out.
well, Anthony Richardson in college at least had all the tools. I
Yeah,
don't think, and I still think Anthony Richardson's going to be good. That's a gridiron address uh, kind of type of conversation, but I do think that Arch Manning will be okay. I just don't know how soon. And there's only so many weeks in college football. If they drop, like you say, wait until maybe week 5, and I would have to look at their schedule to see exactly how tough it is. But if they drop another game, another 2 games before they really get this figured out, it might be too late. It may be too late for them to turn it around and get into the college football playoffs. I do think they'll be there. I do think they will get it figured out. I also think that there is reason to worry. Maybe not panic, but at least a question, at least to worry just a little bit. But I do think they'll get there.
okay,
Aaron,
yeah. The real quick next 3 weeks they got some pretty easy group of 5 games. You got San Jose State, UTEP,
that's a
and
win.
Sam Houston.
Win.
I think that's 3 easy wins there. Then you
I
got
think so.
Florida and Oklahoma back to back in
Ooh,
weeks 5 and 6. So those are going to be the games where we see like, hey, is this team going to be able to make the playoffs or not? Because those
yeah,
are two teams that are very very good in their own right, and I do think will push Texas really really hard.
I agree with you. I think at least Florida, I think, is an underrated team right now. I think they're a little better than 15. Oklahoma's probably a little better than 18, which is where they're at. But those are three pretty easy wins, in my opinion, just because that Texas defense does give them a certain floor. You know what else? Who else defense gives them a certain floor? LSU. They went out against Clemson and held them to 10 points. Clemson, I thought, was an elite offense. Um, I gotta say, I was dead wrong, Aaron. I thought Klubnik was better than Neusmeyer. I think Neusmeyer is better now. Caden Durham is leagues better than any running back that Clemson has on their roster. And I think I do agree that LSU's wide receiver group is a little bit better than Clemson's. Basically, I've come around to everything that you were telling me, Aaron. Do you think that LSU is going to make a playoff push?
I it's tricky, and yes, yes, I know I wrote the rundown show. I should have a better answer for this, but it's really
It
hard because of how competitive the SEC is.
really
I
is.
think their defense definitely surprised me. I was not expecting that to be what won them the game, and their
Hmm.
offensive line held up really, really good against a Clemson defensive line that is the strong suit of that unit.
Hmm.
Incredibly impressed with how they performed with the amount of turnover that LSU had on their offensive line. I think it's entirely possible. It's just going to be about winning those close games because you're going to be going up against these other elite programs in the SEC, and it's going to be a dogfight, and you're just going to have to find a way to pull out of it. I think they have all the ability in the world, but you got tough game coming up in 2 weeks against Florida, and then a couple weeks after that, you got Ole Miss and South Carolina back to back.
Hmm.
LSU has a heck of a schedule to get to if they want to make the college football playoff. I think they can do it. It's going to be a lot of dogfights, but for now, I won't say they will make a playoff push. I will say they have all the potential in the world to make a playoff push with how good their defense looked with Caden Durham and with Garrett Nussmeier at quarterback.
Well, Aaron, let me get a little spicier than you. I do think that they will make a playoff push. I think this defense is flat out elite. I thought Clemson's offense it was very, very good. I still think they're very, very good. And LSU's defense completely shut them down. 10 points. Um, really surprised me. I'm with you, Aaron. Really, really surprised me at how their defense held up. Their offensive line was amazing against probably the best pass rush in the country, in Clemson. So I think that that is two really, really important boxes you need to check off. Like I said, I think Neusmeyer is a very good quarterback. I thought that Klubnik was going to be the better quarterback in this game. I think I was wrong on that. Neusmeyer, in my opinion, outperformed him. And then Caden Duran is a monster. And that is a really, really good way to set up the pass. And just to have a great offense in general, if you can push the ball downfield in multiple ways through the air and on the ground, you have counters to whatever defense you need to counter. And so I think their offense is going to be very good. Their defense, they proved it to me. I think they probably will make a playoff push. They do have a lot of tight games, but Clemson may be the best team they play all year, or at least up there. And this may be one of the most impressive wins that any team has all year. Obviously, I mean, you got like Florida State who just beat Alabama and stuff like that. But of teams that are in the mix for the college football playoffs, this could be the most impressive win of all of them. So I do think they will make a playoff push. But let's move to the Clemson side of this, Aaron. Do they win the ACC this year?
I would say they're still the favorite. I think SMU is going to be right up there again. Kevin Jennings, I like him a lot, and I mean we saw this game play out last season, and it was competitive. I'm still giving Clemson the favorite for that just because I still think their defense is really good. I do believe in their offense. I think Klubnik will be good. Their wide receiver core is very good. I just think they ran into a better team in week one, and that's what we saw with that. So going into the season, I would have picked Clemson to win the ACC. And despite a week one loss to a really good LSU team, I'm still going to back Clemson to win the ACC, mostly because it is not exactly the strongest conference in college football.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Clemson's still going to win the ACC. They would be my favorites right now. The competition is SMU and Miami. Miami is a very good team. I probably prefer their offense marginally. It's very close. And then I think Clemson's defense is a good bit better than Miami. I know that Miami just beat Notre Dame, who was ranked above LSU, and Clemson lost to LSU, but I think LSU was underrated. I think that LSU was a better team than Notre Dame. And the other thing is Clemson's schedule is not very hard the rest of the way. I wrote it down here. They really, I think they're probably going to go undefeated, other than maybe the Gamecocks, who are looking pretty good this year. Um, and they do have to play SMU. I think they're probably going to beat SMU. And then Miami, I think is probably going to lose 1 to 2 games the rest of the season. They also have to play Florida along with SMU. So I could see those both being losses. I think Clemson ultimately does come out on top just because I trust that defense a lot more than Miami's.
Yeah, and I agree with you there. And looking at Clemson's schedule, I just think it's kind of ridiculous that their second to last regular season game of the season is against Furman, which is an FCS school.
Yeah.
That is some SEC scheduling right there, but it's not that hard of a schedule. I think Florida State could be a dangerous game for them as well, in addition to South Carolina, like you mentioned. But yeah, I think maybe one loss. I think South Carolina could be able to pull it off as well, and SMU is going to give them a good game. Those are the two that I'm looking at as possible losses for Clemson, but I just don't see them losing both of those.
Yeah, I agree with you. Let's move on to another game we predicted. You got it right. Or no, actually, this is the one that we both got wrong. Colorado versus Georgia Tech. Competitive game, came down to the wire. Haynes King really impressed, especially as a runner. Um, on the contrary was Caden Salter, who he wasn't great. I thought he was okay. Aaron, I know that you have been a lot iffier on Salter than me. Do you think it's only a matter of time before we see Julian Lewis start for Colorado?
I really think it is. I'm not that high on Salter like we talked about last week. I don't think he's going to be the answer for Colorado. He struggled at Liberty last
Hmm.
year, and he's going to be going up against a higher level of competition in the Big 12 than he was when he was playing for Liberty. I don't think he's going to be able to hack it, and at some point, Deion Sanders is going to have to decide that they're going to need some energy in that offense, and I think Julian Lewis could very easily be the guy to bring that energy and that momentum to the Colorado offense.
I partially agree with you. I do think eventually Julian Lewis will be starting for Colorado. I think if it happens, it will be sometime mid-season, a few weeks down the road. I think Salter played well enough to keep his QB1 spot for now. I do think
Yeah,
that will change. I've come around with you. I don't think Salter is a starting quarterback in college football, at least not for a Big 12 team. So I do think Julian Lewis will eventually start. I also think Coach Prime understands the value of letting a young quarterback sit and gain some experience. So I wouldn't really expect to swap until more around mid-season, unless Salter just really stinks it up these next couple games. And
yeah, and
then,
it's not a bad next couple games. They have Delaware coming up. That should be an easy win. Then you got Houston and Wyoming. Those are three solid games for Salter to potentially get his footing in that offense, and then
yeah,
BYU could potentially be a challenge for him. But
Hmm.
yeah, easy in theory, easy few games coming up for Colorado.
Similar to Arch Manning, who
Yes.
is going to have three gimmies basically before he actually plays real competition again. Hopefully, for Zalter's sake, he can ramp it up a little bit, mesh with this offense a little more. But like I said, and like you said, I do expect Julian Lewis to start at some point this season. And we're both App State alums, so let's move to App. This is the one game that we both got correct. The only game that I got correct, in fact. App absolutely blew out UNC Charlotte 34-11. It took App a little bit of time to get it rolling, but they ended up getting it rolling and ended up really just putting a smackdown on them. Defense played with passion. The offense was really, really good, I thought. Looked balanced, looked effective. I was impressed with AJ Swan. How do you feel about the Mountaineers for the rest of the season, Aaron?
Oh, Carson, I'm trying to temper my excitement, but I really liked that game. It was phenomenal. And yes, it's against UNC Charlotte, and they're not that good, but this just it felt like this team had a whole different energy than they did last season. That defense, it looked like they wanted to be out there. They wanted to be playing. And at times last year just didn't feel like that was present with most of the players, and that is just unfortunate. And offensively, it was phenomenal. AJ Swan, most passing yards in a App State debut for a quarterback ever. Shout out AJ Swan. Rashad Dubignon had over 100 rushing yards. We thought it might have been a problem with Connie Roberts going down. Evidently, it's not. Next man up. He absolutely killed it. I am
Hmm.
so excited to see what this App State team can do the rest of the season.
I'm 100% with you, Aaron. If you want proof on what a head coach can do to a team, look at App State. Sean Clark had completely lost the locker room. He had completely lost the fans. Nobody wanted to watch App State. They didn't look like the players wanted to play for App State. And then in comes Dow Loggins, and this looks like a completely new team. You mentioned AJ Swan. I mean, blew me out of the water. Three touchdowns, 368 yards, zero interceptions, 67% completion. And then you mentioned running back was still a strength for this team, even after Kanye Roberts goes down. Rashad Dubinion, I believe. His name's a little bit of a tongue twister for me. 22 carries, 111 yards. That's 5 yards per carry. Incredible. Jaden Barnes is a stud out wide receiver. 6 catches for 134 yards. AJ Swan and Barnes, that's going to be a really, really good duo this year. But I really think it all starts with Al Loggins. He's going to take this team to where it needs to go. I think. I'm with you. I do want to temper my expectations. I also want to be excited, and I'm going to be. I think they're going to win the Sun Belt this year. He's reinvigorating this offense just like he did at South Carolina before. And Aaron, I think there's even a chance for us to pull off an upset win against number 25 Boise State. Do you think that is out of the realm of possibility? Am I
I
getting a little too high right now?
I don't think you are, honestly, because I mean the UNC teams that were playing there a few years ago. I feel like those were better than this Boise State team's going to be. Boise State did not look good week one. I really
Mm,
think App State can pull off that win. I think even having Boise State ranked is very generous at this point, even just at 25. I feel like they should have dropped out of the rankings entirely.
mm.
But yeah, I think it's super realistic that App State beats Boise State right now.
I agree. And I know you said you wanted to temper your expectations, but I do want to pull something out of you, Aaron. Do you think App State wins the Sun Belt?
That's tricky. That's tough. I think JMU is going to be some stiff competition there, but even then, I don't know. Marshall's not a contender anymore because they lost their entire team and their coaching staff.
Hmm.
And then on that hand, maybe Southern Miss can get something going because Southern Miss is just Marshall from last season. Their head coach is there. He brought most of his players with him. But you know what? Why not?
Why
I'll back
not, right?
I'll back App State to win it.
Let's go. We got a
South
rep.
South Alabama, they're not contenders anymore. Fluff Bothwell isn't there. Gio Lopez isn't there. Texas State might be able to do something, but screw it. Why not? I'll back the Mountaineers to win the Sun Belt for now.
Let's go, Aaron. That's what I want to hear. We're both super high on App State, as we should be. Aaron, you know who I'm not really high on at all right now? Alabama. I do not think that tide is rolling right now.
It is not.
They took a tough loss against Florida State, who's not even ranked. Aaron, what do you think about Alabama's season outlook right now? How do you feel like it's going to go?
Well, next week they got ULM. They should win that, but again, I feel like Bama should have beat Florida State. I don't know what to expect out of this team anymore. They have Wisconsin in week 3, and then they just hit the ground running with
Oh,
SEC
yeah.
schedule with Georgia in week 4. I think that is going to be ugly. I think they lose that. They've got Tennessee on the schedule. That could be a loss as well. Then LSU, South Carolina, Oklahoma, Carson. I don't see Alabama making the college football playoff this year. There's no way they miss out on the
Mm.
bowl game. I don't think Kalen DeBoer would make it out of Tuscaloosa if Bama missed a bowl game. I think it'll be like an 9 win season. I'll say 9 wins for Bama. They're going to drop a few of those games that I just listed: South Carolina, LSU, Georgia. Then Tennessee's a toss up. Joey Aguilar looked really good
He looked
week
really
1.
good.
I love to see that, but
Me too.
Carson, it is not looking good for Alabama. The tide is not rolling whatsoever, and Kalen DeBoer could very well be out of a job come the end of the season.
Well, we'll get into that in just one second. I want to give my outlook because I pretty much agree with you on everything you just said. Um, Ty Simpson still looked okay. Jeremy Bernard was amazing, but that defense was really, really bad. Castellanos for Florida was very good for Florida State. I'm sorry, was really, really good in the air, but especially on the ground. So I do worry about this defense. And then, like you said, they play a very difficult schedule. They play Georgia week 4, I believe. That's going to be a bad game for them. I really think they're probably going to lose that. And then they have one game in between. And then all of this is in a row, in order. Number 24, Tennessee, who I think is underrated. Joey Aguilar was amazing. Number 13, South Carolina Gamecocks. Number 9, LSU, underrated. Number 18, Oklahoma. All of those are back to back. They probably lose to Georgia. They probably lose to LSU. They have no room for error against Tennessee or against South Carolina or against Oklahoma. And I really think they lose one of those games. I think 4 losses is too many to get into the college football playoffs. I just think it's too
Oh
many,
yeah, 100%.
especially when one of them was against Florida State.
Yeah, and I feel like even with 4 losses, Bama's still going to be ranked because it's Bama, and
Hmm.
just the name of the program carries weight for some reason, which is unfortunate. It's the Bama tax. That'll land
It
them in like
really
8,
is.
but they're not making the college football playoffs. God, I promise I know how to talk, but yeah, I'm gonna pencil in Georgia as a loss. Then LSU, South Carolina, those are both going to be close. They lose one of those. Tennessee and Oklahoma, super tough, and Vanderbilt as well. I could see Diego Pavia pulling a really, really good game out of nowhere and giving Bama a run for their money. I think that's something we also got to keep our eye on as well. I know it's really easy to give Vanderbilt flack for not being a good football team, but they do have a little something going on that allows them to be competitive against some of the better teams in the SEC.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. There really is an Alabama tax, and I think that should have left once Nick Saban did. Um, because I don't think DeBoer is Nick Saban, and I think he's on the hot seat. Aaron, is he gonna? What can he do to save his job, or do you think that's the point we're at when he needs to save his job still?
I I think he has to make the playoff. I think Alabama is too proud of a program to be content with missing the playoffs in consecutive seasons, especially since it's up to 12 teams now. I think
Mm-hmm.
that is incredibly unacceptable for a team with the history that Alabama does have, which means he can really only afford to lose to Georgia. I think that's the only loss you can take on the rest of
Yeah.
your schedule. And even then, you kind of want to win that because you're still going to have one loss, and it's going to be to Florida State
Mm-hmm.
in the ACC. And that's just a conference that is not viewed favorably whatsoever.
I agree with you. I wrote down four things that I think he needs to do to save his job. One, he needs to knock off either Georgia or LSU. I don't think he's going to do those things. Two, he needs to go undefeated the rest of the year outside of that one loss to Georgia or LSU. I don't think he's going to do that. Number three, he needs to make the college football playoffs. I don't think he's going to do that. And number four, he would need to get past the first round of the college football playoffs, and I don't think he's going to make it. So I agree with you. I think he's gone. I think Alabama is too proud of a program with too much rich history to stick around for this. I'm not going to say I feel bad for Alabama fans because I don't. They had
Oh, yeah, I don't.
their several moments of glory, especially in the mid 2010s.
Mhm.
But I do think they're too proud to stick around with DeBoer. Okay, Aaron, we're gonna introduce a new segment. This is a way to talk about some teams that don't really get talked about too much. We're gonna call it the upset watch. First game up, West Virginia versus Ohio. West Virginia is favored in this game after they just absolutely dominated Robert Morris as Aaron shows off his pretty kitty to the world. Ohio loses a close game to Rutgers. Aaron, this is the upset watch. You wrote this rundown, so I'm
Oh, yeah.
assuming you have Ohio here.
I I do think Ohio's got a really strong chance. West Virginia's like a solid Big 12 team. They're not that great, and Ohio played Rutgers really, really close.
They did.
They almost beat them. Parker Navarro seems like he's cleaned up his passing a little bit from last season. I know he struggled with interceptions early on in 2024, so it's good to see him get that under control. And he is a very good dual threat quarterback as well. Chase Hendricks, wide receiver for Ohio, I think he's incredibly talented. And I'd also keep an eye on Duncan Brune as well, a running back from Germany who also plays for Ohio. I think he could have a pretty solid season. uh, West Virginia also only favored by, I believe it's 3.5 or 2.5 points. That's not a very wide margin. I like Ohio to pull off the upset, but I I don't know if I want to see that purely because I have to work that Saturday night, and the game is in Athens, Ohio. So it'll be
Oh,
an absolute mess if Ohio does win, but I think they pull it off, Carson. I really do.
I would love to see that. I'm also going to take Ohio. They did really play Rutgers very close. And West Virginia played Robert Morris, and I think there's a big gap between those two teams. It's not like West Virginia played Robert Morris close, they destroyed him, but I am going to take Ohio as well. Let's move on to Rutgers versus Miami, Ohio. This is not the Hurricanes, people. Miami, Ohio versus Rutgers, who just barely beat Ohio. However, Rutgers is heavily favored. Miami, Ohio just shut out Wisconsin 0-17. Who do you think wins? Oh,
You
I'm so
know,
sorry.
they
I
got
need to
shut out.
correct that. They got shut out by Wisconsin.
I mean, yeah, I think the margin's a little extreme. Miami, Ohio is a solid team. I think it'll be closer than that 14.5 point spread.
Hmm.
Uh, Keep an eye on it because, I mean, like we saw, Rutgers can play a close game to a MAC team. Gotta love some action. This is on upset watch, and I think it can be a close game. I am still going to back Rutgers slightly in this, but this is a game to keep an eye on for a potential upset.
Okay, we agree 2 for 2 here. I also think Rutgers is going to win. Reason being, I think Miami, Ohio's offense is really, really bad. I think their quarterback is really, really bad. He threw 2 picks, no touchdowns, and had a 50% completion percentage. That is bad. They also had no running backs average over 2.5 yards per carry. That is also bad. I agree. I don't think the margins are this big, um, but I do think that Rutgers is going to win this game. Let's move on to UCLA versus UNLV. UCLA goes from slightly favored to heavy underdogs after getting absolutely demolished by Utah last week. UNLV, however, is coming into the game 2-0. Aaron, before I ask you who wins, I want to ask you: does Nico Iamaleava deserve to win a game this year?
Deserve to win a game. That's a heck of a way to phrase that question. I mean, yeah, he deserves to win a game. I think that I mean that whole saga was an absolute mess, and I
It
just love
was.
that. I love that Joey Aguilar played good, and Nico
Me
just
too.
had an absolute stinker in week one. That made me pretty happy there. Just real quick, UCLA is still slightly favored in this just by 2.5 points, despite their 0-1 start to the season. I'm getting that off of ESPN.
Oh, when I just looked at from ESPN analytics was that it was like a 73% favor
Oh, I'm
in
oh
UNLV.
the matchup predictor. Oh, I was
Oh,
looking at the spread.
I see. I see. Okay, makes sense. Sorry, dropped
Oh,
my
but
phone.
yeah, I mean, I don't want to say that Nico doesn't deserve to win a game this season. I mean, he does. Like, he could have very easily just had the wrong people in his ear about what to do with that
Very
whole
true.
situation. And, I don't, I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say, yes, he does deserve to win a game this season.
Well, my girlfriend and her entire family are Tennessee fans, so
Oh, Lord.
I feel like I have an obligation to say no. I'm also happy Joey Aguilar is there. It kind of meshes our two colleges. But Aaron, who do you think actually wins this game?
Well, I mean, I'm inclined to agree with the disagree with the spread. I think UNLV gets it done. Like we said earlier, Nico had an absolute stinker in week one, and UNLV is off to a 2-0 start. Yes, they only won by one score against Idaho State in week one, but Anthony Calandria, I think he's good. Um, yeah, UNLV is a contender for the Group of Five college football playoff spot this season. To me, I really think they're going to be able to get that. Mountain West feels pretty open. I don't think Boise State's going to be able to do what they did last year. No more Ashton Genty, and that offense just does not look the same whatsoever.
Yeah.
I'm big on UNLV this season as a potential playoff contender, and I do think they get this win over UCLA that will hopefully look pretty good on their resume come selection time
Did you say a potential playoff contender, UNLV?
to make the playoffs. Yeah,
Wow, I like that take, Aaron. That is a hot take right there. I actually think UCLA is going to win it. UNLV has come off of 2 pretty good wins. I think that's going to end this game. As much as I hate to say it, Nico Iamaleava is still a good quarterback. He's still an okay quarterback. So I'm going to go ahead and take UCLA. Aaron, let's get into the biggest game of week 2, Michigan versus Oklahoma. The biggest story here is Underwood versus Mateer. Obviously, you're a Michigan fan. How do you think Bryce Underwood is going to hold up?
I think he's going to hold up all right. We saw that they can lean on the run game really, really heavy. Uh,
Yeah.
Justice Haynes. I mean,
Oh my God.
what a game! I
Amazing.
love that. I love that Michigan is just able to churn out these just absolute workhorse running backs. Yes, he's coming in from Bama, but I really have started to appreciate these run heavy offenses that you know what they're going to do. They're going to run the ball a bunch, and you just can't stop them. Carson, I absolutely love it. I think Underwood he looked pretty good. I think this is a massive step up in competition going from New
Yeah.
Mexico to Oklahoma in the span of 1 week. That's going to be big. This feels like a really key game for the outlook of the Wolverines season. If this is competitive, if they can pull out the win, I feel like I don't want to say the sky's the limit, but it does change the potential outlook. But I think he's going to fare well. This is their first big test of the season. I know wide receivers are still a little up in the air, but Samaj Morgan, I believe he can get it done when his name's called. And look, I'm just excited, Carson. I'm probably not going to be able to watch the game because I got to work. Unfortunate.
Not
I'm going to get some
fair.
time off of work to just watch college football all day on a Saturday.
Yeah.
Hope no one watches this from work. If I just don't ask any questions when you see my time off request in there. But yeah, I'm super excited for this. I think Oklahoma is a pretty underrated team in the SEC. I think John Mateer is going to have a really, really good season. But I do like this Michigan defense. They've been consistently good for the last few seasons. Yes, they
Hmm.
have a lot of turnover, but it is just next man up, and they seem to be able to do that. And we saw some early defensive struggles last season, but towards the end of the season, they were able to rein that in and pull off some good wins against Ohio State and Alabama. I think they will continue that momentum into this season, and yeah, I think it's going to be good. I think they could very handily pull off a win. I wouldn't say handily. I think it will be close, but I think they managed
Yeah.
to win here.
I pretty much agree with you. I think Bryce Underwood is going to be fine in this matchup. Obviously, it is going to be a much harder test than New Mexico, but I trust the Michigan offense in total to prop him up. You mentioned Justice Haynes. What a monster! And everybody knows running the ball is the best way to set up the pass. I think Bryce Underwood and Justice Haynes is kind of like the college football equivalent to like Lamar and Derrick Henry. Obviously, Bryce Underwood is built a little more like Josh Allen, so maybe you could say like Josh Allen and James Cook. I think Bryce Underwood is going to do good. I also think Mateer is going to do pretty well against Michigan. I'm not the highest on Michigan's defense right now. They let up 17 against New Mexico. I do agree with you. Um, I think that they will get it figured out a little more throughout the season, just like they did last year. But for this game, I think it's going to be a shootout. And in a shootout, I just trust Michigan's offense more. So I'm going to take Michigan to win this game as well.
Okay, and I like that we both picked Michigan. I like that we are agreeing. I am not sure if I think Michigan is capable of a shootout. I think if pressed into this situation, they could. It does not feel like their identity. I
It's
don't know if they
definitely
have
not.
I don't know if they have enough weapons to be able to effectively do that in terms of receiving threats. Like their national championship year, they did have more weapons. Roman Wilson comes to mind, Colston Loveland. They just had more to work with, and JJ
Yeah.
McCarthy at quarterback. You could have a shootout with that offense. I don't think that this is their identity. I think it's going to be what we've seen from Michigan. I think it's going to be a run it down their throat, grind out the win. I think that's how they win. But again, very happy we both picked Michigan. I'm just surprised that we have like polar opposite methods of victory.
Yeah, maybe I should kind of recalibrate what I said a little bit because shootout is implied more through the air. What I mean is, I think that both of these offenses are going to have to put up points, however those points come. Touchdowns. I think Michigan will be able to do that. I think it'll be more through the ground than on the air. but I do think that they will be able to put up points just like they did against New Mexico. And I think Oklahoma is going to be able to put up points as well. So I think it is going to come down to whoever puts up the most points, obviously, as every football game does. But I could see if it does end up being like a 2 minute drill, Michigan has the ball and they're down. I could see Oklahoma pulling off that win. Ultimately, I will pick Michigan though. Aaron, is there anything else you want to say or get to before we get out of here?
Uh, yeah, just real quick, another App State related thing. They have a chance to start the season 2-0 for the first time since 2019. They are going up against Linden Woods, so they should be starting 2-0. And obviously, that 2019 App State team was very, very good.
Mm-hmm.
If there was a 12-team playoff at that point, App State very well could have been the Group of Five uh, draw that season. And
Could
I
have
mean,
been.
hey, sky's the limit for the Mountaineers, Carson. Maybe they make the college football playoff. That would be insane. I'd love to see it,
Oh
but
my gosh, that would be electric.
that's all I got for
Roll Nears, baby, roll Nears.
Roll
Thank
Nears.
you everybody for watching. We're glad to have another episode for you. We'll have another one next week, same day, same time. So I hope we see
Tuesdays
you
at
there.
2 p.m.
That's exactly right. Hopefully we see you there. Thank y'all. Bye.